Entire Arab nation. Iraq is an Arab state with the Arab people, regional Arab people of that is something, and who was lucky to visit Iraq before is fully aware that this country, as a society and people, are innately and inherently Arab. And the more Iraq gets stronger, it will serve the best interests of the entire Arab nation, as long as the main adopted framework is coexistence with all countries and the friendly relations based on not only interest but also social Arab solidarity. So the Iraq of today provide provides a very good example for Arab solidarity. And even where we were discussing the agenda, we found that the draft decisions and the proposals admitted by Iraq to strengthen and promote cooperation, whether regarding the economy or regarding different issues, security, political, and so on. We always say that the return of Iraq to the Arab March fully strong and with its complete undivided attention is highly significant for the entire Arab region, and we support Iraq and the Iraqis to keep showing solidarity and bearing the Arab responsibility. There are a lot of initiatives sponsored by the head of the Arab Summit, and they were acknowledged by the Arab Summit to reduce the tensions between the Arab nations suffering from conflicts. So how do you see these Arab initiatives and the committee, and could these initiatives contribute to achieving some sort of consensus between the Arab nations? I'm not sure that this is a very accurate description to what is proposed. If I understand the question correctly, what is proposed is to establish an Arab fund to support the recovery and reconstruction and the Arab states that are ending conflicts. So this is of course a very positive proposal, and in my opinion that everyone agreed that this is a very positive proposal, and the summit will welcome and acknowledge it tomorrow morning. Iraq will start to contribute some funds to this initiative. The other idea is a political one, and we have listened to it, and it can revolve around a certain topic, not necessarily to be comprehensive to all the topics of interest, but we might see some kind of momentum and activation to this idea in a way that would be fruitful. We have seen previous statements for Your Excellency saying that there will be international conference in New York regarding the two-state solution. Will this be discussed and will be a team formed to represent the League of Arab States in New York, and what are your aspirations and the hoped for outcomes from this conference? Of course, the idea is still standing, and the conference will be organized in accordance with a UN resolution. This conference will be held in the period from 17 to 20 of June. Next June. There will be a mutual presidency by Saudi Arabia and France. The objective of this conference is to achieve the General Assembly resolution. The resolution says that this conference aims at expediting the two-state solution and exploring ways to implement the decision and embody the Palestinian state in reality. This conference will be held next month, and there are preparations taking place at the moment. And these are very serious preparations and arrangements, because this will require a lot of work to be convened. It's not like the other conferences, meaning only picture and scenery for the media, but it is a serious discussion and talk, a political dialogue, and economic and humanitarian and social dialogue. The topic will be discussed from all different angles, and therefore this conference, in accordance with the General Assembly resolution, will be very positive and beneficial to the Palestinian cause, despite of what we see of impacts of the Israeli aggression that wouldn't stop. We are hopeful that this conference sets a lot of points, and it might also witness some states recognizing the Palestinian state, and if that happens, it will have a very important diplomatic and political impact. Ziad Ismail from the media network. Every year we see the Arab Summit, but the issues stand unresolved. What is the difference that will distinguish this summit compared to the previous ones? It's a very good question that I always face when an organization decides to convene periodic meetings. And this is for those who don't know among you. That wasn't the League of Arab States till the year 2000. The Arab League did not hold plenary ordinary sessions. These summit conferences were only convened in extraordinary conditions. So when a conference convenes every 5 or 6 years, which leads you always to inquire and set a high ceiling of expectations, the Arab League only met in the case of major crises, but now the Arab League convenes on a periodic basis, which is highly positive for all states on a high level and in the grand scheme of things. To meet on a periodic basis, it's very helpful. You talk about the outcomes of the summit. What are the additions? What is the new outcomes? Let's address case by case. Yes, the Arab League might not be the main actor in some cases. The Arab League and the member states have certain stances regarding some matters. Palestine, for example, the United Nations Security Council, so far till this moment, stand unable to impose any solutions regarding the Palestinian cause. Another example, such as Libya, or the situation in Sudan or Yemen. There are ongoing wars and there are interests for external factors, and there are weakness points in our Arab societies and communities, all lead to agitate the war for a prolonged period of time. In spite of the international calls to stop the war, so the Arab League might come up with a call upon all parties. Will they listen? Not necessarily. Well, is there an ability to enforce this will, the will of the Arab League? Sometimes this is not what is requested. What's requested is to portray a vision, as my colleague here stated, to form some kind of mechanism to intervene positively with well endeavors to reduce the tensions, reaching maybe a solution to a crisis or another. That might not always be available, but when it is, it might be very beneficial and fruitful. I'm sorry it is a very prolonged answer, but your question needs a lot of discussion. I would like to ask a question. How did you see the preparations in Baghdad to hold the Baghdad summit? Was it different compared to previous summits? You want to create a problem here either with Iraq or with the host country of the former and previous summits. Well, to be honest, we have found a very high level and a lot of interest on the highest state levels, and potential as harnessed to the success of the summit. We have found teams working to the success of this major event. So once again, I might have stated this at the beginning of my speech, but once again, I would like to repeat that Iraq honestly presented a very distinguished summit in the preparation phase, and we would like to extend our thanks to Iraq government and people for the warm Iraqi hospitality and generosity, and harnessing these the potential to the success of the event. My question is regarding the problems discussed in the summit are regarding all the Arab nations who are all the presidents of all Arab states are not participating in the summit. Well, it's an expected question. The participation level is always a controversy. It's a sovereign matter for each state independently. You cannot hold any state and question it. Why would they not take part in a certain summit? It's a sovereign matter. But in our secretary, we are more concerned with the outcomes and resolutions. Of course, the attendance level is very important, and the number of leaders attending is important. Of course, these are important matters to discuss, but these are sovereign matters out of the limits of our mandates. We hope to increase the number of leaders attending, but for us as a secretary general, the most important thing is the outcomes and the resolutions. All states are represented, so the resolution will have the same bearing and weight and legitimacy. Your Excellency, the Egyptian plan adopted in the Cairo summit in last March with the Arab consensus. What about the preparations and completing the adoption of this plan? This is an Arab plan, and this is widely recognized. What is being proposed at the moment is to take this war phase to the post-war phase, so that we can start implementing the plan. The plan cannot be implementing during the war, but we require a phase of tranquility, and we're not there yet. When the plan was proposed, the ceasefire agreement was still in force, and when it was violated by Israel unilaterally, this led to the return of the state of war. When the state of war is ongoing, you cannot talk about implementing such a plan. So the efforts now are mainly directed to regaining stability in the Gaza Strip, and stability means tranquility and a truce to end the ongoing war, and then we can talk about implementing the Arab plan. But the emergency summit recognized this plan, and we have the plan with the Arab support and international support, but the implementation needs a completely different condition. An info for you, there is a developmental summit to be convened later after this one. How do you depend on this summit to face challenges such as food security, water security, and especially in the countries suffering from war and conflict? It's a very important question. The Arab League naturally works to coordinate policy between the Arab nations, and when required, formulate a unified Arab stance. This requires coordination of policies, because in the Arab nations we have a lot of differences between countries that have succeeded more than others, more progressed and developed countries, and others suffering from underlying issues, others suffering from war and conflict. We have a lot of differences. We're only 22 states suffering from different levels of poverty, health, education systems. Our main objective when these countries convene and meet, as well as the concerned and relevant ministers, is as much as possible approach and fill the gaps, not by taking from the wealthy to give the poor, but by learning from best practices and lessons learned, what has been achieved here and can be applicable elsewhere. We make the approaches by studying policies and following successful examples, all of which needs the relevant parties to convene and meet together, build understandings, and get to know what is requested and required on an Arab level. The opportunity for the developmental summit here is to make use of the Iraqi experiment, for example. It will be tackled later. There are very good proposals in that regard. I will take one only questions and then I will have to leave. The Arab Summit is a very good opportunity and platform to discuss any Arab issues regarding finding a common. There was a talk about the UAE withdrawing from the attendance of the Arab Summit. What do you have to say about that? Well, I would like to say that is completely not true. No state is withdrawing from the attendance of the summit. I think that the United Arab Emirates is very, very highly represented in the summit. But of course, what you have tackled is a very controversial matter, and addressing this matter is not easy at all. It requires a lot of interventions and it requires the wisdom of politicians and diplomats. And of course, it requires the readiness of all parties to listen and accept and have a meaningful dialogue. This requires time, and it might not be resolved during the upcoming summit. But we are hopeful and optimistic that in the near future things might happen to restore stability. Thank you very much.